Hey, my name's Josh Woolard. I'm a storage engineer for HPE here in Austin, Texas. I know a lot of you, and I like to introduce myself to start. So I work here. I was previously an IT director for a national healthcare group, so I actually did your job. I was a SPICE head. I'm the SPICE core leader here in Austin. I do have the tie level on my SPICE. It was a lot better when I could post on the boards, but it's not so good anymore. I do a lot of testing on my own about the hardware and stuff. So this is a picture of my garage, right? So I do a lot of stuff while Nimble storage and HPE storage together. So a lot of this stuff that I'm going to talk about actually is stuff I used when I was a customer and how it applies to you, and not a lot of marketing. So hopefully not read any of my slides and tell you a really fun story. And if you have questions, it makes for a much better presentation. So feel free to yell them out as I go down the road. So in the beginning, when you start why HPE acquired Nimble Storage, was really around a product called Infosight. If you look at self-driving cars and you think about how they work, basically, if you think, hey, they'll be in the future, they'll be driving themselves. So if you look how you do that, you would collect sensor information from every single car on the road. Tesla does this now. They upload the infrastructure for how people drive, where they're driving, what they're dealing with, and all those different pieces out there that come along with that experience. Imagine if we could do that from infrastructure. And that's really why HPE acquired Nimble, right? So Nimble, back in 2009, started collecting data and learning from it from every single array that was out there, right? So they had all this information, and they built it into what we call Infosight. So Infosight, if you don't know, is essentially we collect information across the stack. Servers, compute, networking. All of the telemetry that's involved in this is called, are these telemetry points. So every single Nimble array has about 7,000 sensors feeding information every 5 minutes back to the Infosight database. Second only to Facebook. The Infosight database is so large, our Vertica database second only to Facebook. It's huge, right? We took this data and we started using it and started predicting problems. So this is the predict the storm part. So if we can see a problem in Texas, there's no reason the guys in Oklahoma or Florida should have to experience the same thing, right? This is a big part of why they got us, right? And then if you could use it, right, you could learn from it. There's a way you can actually see these problems, actually find it and fix things for other people. So I'm gonna go down some examples of how this actually applies to you. So the first thing we did, we started automating cases. Nimble support actually opens, or HPE storage support actually opens 93% of the cases for customers. That means only 7% are 1-800 storage, right? Of those 93, 86% we actually open, send you the fix, and then close the case. That means you don't have to call anybody to get something done. Oh my God. I've been in a meeting as a customer. My phone rang, support called me, said, hey, we have a drive, but they didn't get me because I was doing something important, like now, listen to someone else talk, right? And then all of a sudden, they're like, hey, Josh, we couldn't get a hold of you. And all of a sudden, a drive was at the front desk, waiting on me to come out. And so this automation from support is huge as an IT guy. You have other things to do, right? Nothing about what you're doing says I need to sit on hold with support for guys that don't know me, right? So then I got out of my meeting, and at the front desk, there said a drive. I don't know, that didn't suck. That's a great thing to have as someone on your back, have your side. The next thing is support and all the different pieces. If they're able to automate supports, they actually can see problems and how they affect other people. So every single release that makes it to GA is 6 nines of uptime, right? 99.99%, right? Nothing makes it to GA that's out as a release until it bakes up and hits that release level. So you know that if you go to apply a general available release to your array, it's actually supported with 6 nines and baked that level. So 100 other people or thousands of other people have actually already ran it as a GA candidate to get it out there. Super useful. Now, if you can automate cases, maybe you can actually have a support system you actually like. So in HPE storage support, Nimble storage, the guys you call and pick up the phone to talk to are level 3 engineers. If we've automated 86% of the case, we don't need a level 1 help desk to take your serial number. We don't need a level 2 one to figure out what your network ports are. We have no reason for you to upload logs because Infosight was already collecting that information for you. Holy crap, that's amazing, right? The guy that picks up the phone in storage support actually gets something done. I don't know, that's pretty beautiful. I think the whole time is less than 1 minute, about 45 seconds. So this idea and transformation is really why HPE acquired Nimble Storage, right? They wanted to bring this experience to everybody else. This chart on the board is actually a graph we have from the amount of arrays that have been shipped. And so the green line on the top is the amount of arrays as they doubled and tripled, right? Got larger and larger. But the support numbers at the bottom are the cases that are manually opened. This is beautiful. We're actually able to keep the same amount of support staff and we're able to support twice as many products in the field. Can you see why HPE is after this thing? This is why they spent $2 billion. Imagine this experience can get better for you as a server support, right? Storage and networking, all of that's built in. And so this idea behind Infosight is really the predict the storm. If you have this automation, data scientists actually looking around, finding data, predicting problems, and benefiting, it gets really good. This is a true story. So we have a large virtualization customer that's a partner here, right? They had a bug. They're getting 10x more latency inside their environment. That means things were running really, really slow, right? And what Infosight was able to do with all this data, they actually found that there was a bad iSCSI command sent from the hypervisor, right? The hypervisor was sending it off, and all of a sudden, we're like, hey, there's a problem here. So they released it, notified the manufacturer, fixed it for the customer in about 2 hours, right? And then they said, hey, 600 other customers have a clear path to this release. We need to blacklist that for them. Bam. Wouldn't it be nice if maybe Microsoft would check your SQL environment on Tuesday before they released a patch to you so to make sure that the service would start when it rebooted? That idea is why we bring Infosight, right? This piece is for you to make your jobs easier, right? What if we actually looked at the code to make sure our releases actually improve performance? So a few releases out there back in 2000 were just maintenance releases. If this code itself is looked at by the engineers to make sure it gets better, and when we release things to you, you actually can see performance gains. Imagine a product that gets faster the longer you own it. That's what we're doing with Infosight. We have the engineering information. We can actually map out different types of data types, no matter what they are. SQL, VDI, you know that the data that's actually on there, the engineers are using and mapping to make your experience better. And so this core idea is what Infosight is. It can see what the market's doing and the trends that are out there that are presented. Super useful stuff. Blacklisting updates, making sure you don't have that same problem built into it, right? And so at the end of this, the motto now becomes, see once and prevent for all. If every single piece of the telemetry and infrastructure is sent back, we should be able to see problems. The truth is that when Nimble looked at their own caseloads, they noticed that about 54% of the time, the cases had nothing to do with storage. Anybody just a storage guy? Anybody just a server person? Anybody everything? There we go. That's my crew, right? And so the idea here is when you look at this stuff, you want to know exactly where to go because you have limited resources, right? You want to have something exactly where to look at. And so this is where we came out with VM Vision. Basically, the Nimble array will connect to your virtual environment, and it'll actually let you pinpoint issues within your situation. Servers, storage, or networking. All three are managed, mainly because that telemetry we're sending back to Infosight can be have added analysis to it to help you identify things like noisy neighbor, latency in your network, bad patch cables, right? You all can see this within the stack. So let's go a little further. Everybody out there gives you a latency bug. Hey, this is running slow at 2 o'clock or whatever time it says there on the 10th of March. The problem here is no one knows why it's running slow. So Infosight and this VM Vision type of piece will actually gives it color. So we actually show, hey, the colors mess up on the screen here, but the host is causing your issue, right? So if you have a latency within your host, you may have a bully VM that's doing too many I/O that's negatively affecting every other one out there. Again, this is included with Infosight. It's part of our product. There's no licensing, there's no SKUs. It's just to make your jobs easier, right? When is the last time someone said, hey, this is a hard job. We're going to give this to you to make your stuff run better because really we don't want you to call us. We want you to do it yourself. You need to be enabled to find it on your own, right? If you have a VDI environment that's affecting your Oracle environment, you should be able to pick that out yourself without having to call support. This idea is what HPE is bringing to the entire stack. It gets better. What if you have a hotspot? What if one of your VDI desktops is negatively affecting another one? Easily identified heat maps given out for the instruction. Again, built into the product on day one, no OVAs to deploy, no connectors, just one login to your vCenter, and it correlates all those telemetry together. It gets better, right? The analytics is included, the root cause. One of those things I pointed out earlier that the 6 nines of uptime, the software guys are looking at the code. The reason they do that is we have level 3 engineers that pick up the phone to help you, right? So there's no level 1 and level 2, level 3. You know what's after the engineers? The guys that write the code. So the next level up is someone that writes the code. I've been a support engineer, I've had to do that twice with a customer. So they know that if the guys that don't answer the phone can help you, the guys that actually write the code are right behind them. I know that's pretty powerful, right? I've seen them rewrite it just to fix someone's issue in about an hour and a half. Beautiful stuff, right? So that's kind of the idea behind Infosight support, but it gets better. So HPE released a new product at Discover called DHEA, and basically it's taking the Nimble array functionality and pushing it to the entire stack. So DHEA actually can become one-call support for servers, networking, and storage together. We call this a greenfield approach, where you have all three deployed together in one system. But since Infosight is monitoring the servers, the hardware, and a reference architecture, we can actually support it. We did this before when we were Nimble only. Now we're doing it with HPE. And so this idea where you have to call server support, storage support, networking support, VMware support, nah, gone. So DHEA will actually let you do that together. So this slide kind of shows and highlights what Nimble support will do for you inside the HPE system. And this is the beauty of Infosight. If you can predict what's coming, you can turn yourself into a weatherman instead of a firefighter, right? That's my tagline, right? That's what predict the storm is. If you can predict this is coming and get out in front of it and actually get someone that can help you, it's a very powerful message. I'm gonna do it on time, about 10 minutes, good. So that's no less than 20 minutes. So, any questions from the audience? Good? Good. Let's let the thing. Say it again.
You mentioned Infosight's being rolled out to the entire HP stack. What's the timeline for delivery? It's like right
today.
now?
Today.
Okay.
Today. So for HPE servers, right, and content that's out there, we are collecting information. If you just have servers by themselves, you can do what's called an amplifier pack. It'll collect it from the ILOs and start feeding all that telemetry back into the array, right? And so that piece of it is already out right now. And so the automation from support is coming, right? But they need to collect some information. Some of the things I didn't go really deep into is that the data scientists that look at all this data that's in there is actually used to actually correlate and find patterns. The cool part is we already have a pattern engine, right? We did this for the last 10 years. Again, why has an acquisition happened? This is it, because we're already ahead of the game, right? Which car would you prefer? The one that started last year or the one that's been on the road for 10 years, right? So this automation for self-driving cars is actually really, really ideal. So that's why I kind of lean on it as an example. So, any other questions?
For the people who are doing the monster hunt, can you give us the answer that we should be putting in this blank? What are you unboxing? Because everything we've tried is not working.
What's the question?
Tell us what product was unboxed at this demo right now.
DHCI?
That doesn't work. So
how about Infosight?
Doesn't work.
Barbara? Where's Barbara?
So I've pretty
Suzanne?
much tried everything, and it's not working.
How about Nimble Storage DHCI?
I've tried that.
My name's Josh. Free shirts.
Okay, so I've heard info space site. Is that right? Awesome.
Right. Thank you. Cool. Right on. Anybody got anything there? Any other questions? Here we go, one right here.
So we currently have Nimble Onsite. Nimble support, awesome.
Thank you.
Joining together with HP, my question is, you're rolling all this together. Is HP support going to be at the same level as what Nimble support is?
Eventually. It takes time, right? So we look at it like this. We call it crawl, walk, run, right? It took Nimble support being awesome for like 6-7 years to be the level they're at. But they were collecting telemetry since day one. We started collecting telemetry on servers in January, right, to get the automation and support. But the gains on the other HPE storage product, 3PAR, have been exponential. So they started rolling out 3PAR in 2018, and the gains for them on cost savings on their support desk have been huge, right? So I would expect to see some automated support cases really soon. Maybe around a major HPE conference, they'll start talking about it for servers. So there you go. So yeah, I mean, the idea here is, but if you want to transition from a classic architecture, the HPE Infosight or the HPE DHCI product will let you get a unified support approach for your stack, right? And so if you have existing servers, we have a config for that. We call it brownfield. You basically get a Nimble array, that has a DHEA system built into it, right? And it can actually auto-configure those servers and deploy them for you. So yeah, so the short answer is yes. Long answer is yes in a little while. Got it? Cool.
Is this all dependent on a service contract?
So everything
with
is
HP?
included. This is my favorite part of this story. Everything's included. So there is no cost for DHCI. There's no cost for Infosight. As long as you're under support, it's part of your product. No extra line items, no extra SKUs, nothing. It's just how the new support model for HPE is changing. So this idea of predictive and proactive is where we should have been a long time ago. They just needed a framework, a la why they bought Nimble. Right? It's a beautiful thing as a support person to have someone else watching your back, right? Someone else looking out for your infrastructure. I don't know. It's been about 2 or 3 Thanksgivings ago. The only thing that notified me that my AC went out, not my Open Manage, not my Eaton Power Unit, but was my Nimble array, right? So I had to send someone up there on Thanksgiving to actually open the door, right? That kind of monitoring is what you're getting from this stuff. A different type of support experience for you as you go across the field. Any more questions? I'm really short on my time, so that's why I'm going to the audience. All right, thanks, guys. That's all I have. We appreciate you coming out.